I like to kind of look at technology in a way where the average person just gets an idea of what it feels like to actually own it. Nowadays, everyone's jaded. They've seen Bluetooth speakers, they've seen portable chargers. A lot of the tech isn't new anymore. Tech is just being refined.
This, to me, is quintessential. What I love about YouTube is when somebody like Charlie can just wake up one day and say, you know what, I've had it with lettuce, and I'm gonna let
today.
everybody know. Like, we're evolved to communicate face to face. We are not evolved to communicate through YouTube comments.
Doing it all solo, it's very easy to just turn on the blinders and just go all in with work. When you've got good people in your corner, it just kind of makes the balancing act a bit easier.
Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. It is TCU night. That's Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. We are live on Discord with our glorious patrons, our dumpster crew, our $2 tots, our infantry, our illustrious baby gang and creators. And we're just hanging out here on this lovely evening. I'm flying solo here. Matt is off this evening, but I do want to remind everyone that we have the t-shirts out. I am wearing one right now. So everybody who's watching on Discord can see me modeling one of the new t-shirts. It is Silky Smooth, the smoothest and softest t-shirt that I own, and will be the smoothest and silkiest, softest t-shirt that you own, but you have to act fast because stocks are limited on that. So check out the links below and check out on social media. We'll have some links to the t-shirts. You're going to want to hop on that. But let's hop right in to today's guest. So the crowded tech reviews landscape on YouTube is dotted with computer experts like Linus Tech Tips, diehard stans like TCU alum iJustine, and cell phone gurus like a certain guest that we'll be speaking with next month. But Judner Aura is none of those things because he's your average consumer. Judner has been representing the tech everyman online since his first upload back in 2012. A review of a Canon camera flash accessory that he starts off by simply saying, "Hey guys, it's your average consumer here." Over 9 years, 3 million subscribers, and 430 million views later, he's now a bit more professional than his moniker implies. I actually had the pleasure of meeting Judner at a recent Formula E event in Brooklyn, and we quickly nerded out on topics like making standout videos and scaling your production team. So what I'd like to do is just pick up the conversation that we had in private, now in public. So I'll start you off with this. Judner, how in the world do you stand out these days reviewing tech?
Well, it seems like an impossible task, just trying to make a little bit of noise in the tech and in the tech YouTube space. But for me, I guess my goal wasn't ever to try and stand out, but more so to just kind of help the everyday person get some questions answered about technology that we're all pretty familiar with, or at least see in the stores. It's always been my goal to just kind of help the average person rather than the hardcore techie. So that's always been my goal. It seems to have worked out so far. And, that's just kind of how I've always gone about it.
But how has that evolved over the last nearly decade of doing this, that you must be a bit of an expert these days when it comes to these sort of things? So how are you able to still think like the average consumer?
Well, for me, it's more so whenever I do my videos, there's different kind of videos depending on, what the topic is. But a consistent theme for me is just showcasing how I use tech in everyday life. So for someone who maybe is looking into, I don't know, something like, let's say, a smartphone, I I'll do the everyday things like, let's see if how this phone fits in my pocket. Does it fit in the back pocket? Is it slippery? Like just the everyday things. Sure, these days phones are going to be great, fast, and they do everything that they need to do. But I like to kind of look at technology, or at least my videos, in a way where the average person just gets an idea of what it feels like to actually own it. That's kind of been my thing for a long time now. If I have it, I want you to feel like you have it. And if that makes you feel like, if from my videos you feel comfortable enough to make a purchase, or you feel uncomfortable with the idea of having it based on my use case, then I feel like I've helped you. And so that's just kind of been the goal.
I think that's a good goal because, listen, I am not a tech nerd. I do not know anything about like refresh rates and megahertzes and this, what a Snapdragon is. I don't know. It sounds cool. It sounds kind of like a dessert though. Right. I don't know, like some sort of like awesome cookie that you get at like a French patisserie. But it's funny because I was on Marquez Brownlee has a show on a YouTube original, Retro Tech. And I was lucky enough to do a guest appearance on an episode about teleportation, if anybody wants to go check that out. But in the downtime, I made kind of the embarrassing mistake of mentioning to Marquez that I was in the market for a new cell phone. Oh, and when I say it was embarrassing, it's because of the fact that I don't know anything about cell phones. And I'm talking to the guy that knows everything about cell phones. The Michael Jordan of cell phone stuff.
Yeah.
And and here I am being like, so he's asking me like what I'm gonna get, and I'm like, I don't know, a Pixel something or a Samsung something else. I don't really know, and the types of things I was looking for. It's funny because it's the type of things that you're talking about. It's like, I don't want this gigantic honking thing that's going to fall out of my shorts pocket because it's so big. Mm-hmm. I don't want this thing that, is just the battery, I'd like it to last. I don't know. It's like really simple things, like not huge, long lasting battery. I don't need to play Crisis on it or whatever, like that the meme is of like, does it run Skyrim? Like I don't play games on my phone. Right. I don't need any of that. I need simple, like functional knowledge about what to get.
Yeah. How long does it last? Like, is it going to be comfortable to use? Yeah. Okay. I can watch my videos on it. Great. The screen looks nice. Bonus. Like, these are the kind of questions that like, just the average person has. Nobody's saying like, listen, what are my frames going to be when I'm playing X game, or nobody's asking that. So I hear you. And did he end up giving you any advice?
Well, I think that I had told him so I ended up getting the Galaxy S21. That's what I ended up getting. At the time, I was going to get the Pixel 4a, I think. Okay. But then I ended up finding some deal by switching carriers where I could, upgrade and get this better phone for buy one, get one free or whatever. But that's the other thing is like that. What I told him about my interest in the Pixel is that it's not $1 billion. You know what I mean? Like the Pixel is, what is it, like $400, something like that? Some of these smartphones that are like $1,200, I'm like, I would be nervous carrying that thing around. Like, I don't want to have a thing that I'm freaked out by potentially cracking or breaking or losing.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I know a lot of like the tech enthusiasts, like Marquez himself, they don't use phone cases. And that's insane. Like, I still spent my money on this. I want to make sure it lasts. So, I throw phone cases on, screen protectors, all of that. This is a serious investment when you're when you're looking at the higher end stuff. Like, who wants to lose out on $1,200 or even as much as $1,500 if you're looking at like the best iPhone? It's crazy money these days.
I didn't even know it went up that high. But Jake from Vsauce 3 is the same way with the no cases. Like he won't put a case on his thing, which part of me gets it. Like it feels much nicer. It's way less clunky. It's a lot, you can actually feel the brushed steel and I don't know, whatever the thing's made out of. It is nicer, but at the same time, it's like feeling the thing nicer in my hand or in my pocket is not worth the stress of when I know I'm going to drop the thing. I know I'm going to drop it. Who has never dropped their phone? I mean, come on. At some point, that thing's going down.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I were to ever drop my phone and I get a crack somewhere, there's glass everywhere on these phones. I'm the kind of guy who freaks out when I get like a fine scratch on the screen. And I'm just like, oh, great, this is unsightly. So I have to have like a screen protector. And if I were to drop my phone with no case, no screen protector, and it cracks, my month is ruined. I won't get over it.
Yeah. No, my OCD would kick in so hard having, like when I see people who have phones. Now look, let me say, like, if you can't afford to get a new one, if you can't afford to get it fixed, like that's one thing. Like I get that. But it would drive me nuts. I would like take out a loan immediately to get a new phone just so that I wouldn't have to deal with the cracked thing. And I can't, it shocks me the amount of people who I've seen who use just totally smashed phones for a long time.
Yeah.
And even if they could replace it, they're just fine with it. Or they just, I don't know, maybe they'll just break the new one anyway. So I suppose they live life with a cracked screen. I don't really know how that works.
I'd be so nervous because like that glass can get in your fingers. And I could just imagine just swiping on those cracks every day. And some cracks are worse than others. But that's something that makes me nervous. I see those cracks and I'm like, I don't want any glass getting into my thumb for no reason. If I get scratches, like I'm the kind of guy who even if I get scratches on my phone without, like I didn't get a screen protector on it yet, I'm throwing a screen protector on it just so I can not see it because it drives me crazy. And I'm in the same boat as you. If I had major damage to a phone, my immediate thought is, okay, what do I have to do to get another one? Back when I was
what do I have to sell? What do I have to put up on eBay to get the money?
Exactly. I've done it in the past where, before, YouTube, just buying smartphones, I've had accidents happen and I can't live with it. I sold a broken phone and other things to make money to buy a brand new one. I just can't live with it. It's crazy. It sounds crazy, but I can't do it.
No, it's totally a personality thing. And it just made me think of how funny it is what like a personality identifier or a signifier it is, the phone that you have, how you take care of it, how you treat it. Right. You can tell a lot from a person by those things. But like if you're an iPhone person, you're an Android person, you have this, like for instance, you see those guys that have the gigantic like OtterBox or whatever screen or phone cases that are like 4 inch. They're like a brick. Right. And they're so big you can't put them in a pocket, and then they wear those like holsters, like it's a 6-shooter on their hip, and it's the Wild West. Yep. Like that's a type of person. I immediately think a specific person.
I immediately think, all right, this person is doing some hard work. Like they're somewhere that phone can get destroyed, and they're doing everything they can to protect it. That's who I envision when I see that.
And they need it though. They need it for work. They need to take calls like on location, on the job site or whatever, while the concrete is being poured. And that's the person that wears like that. That wears like that's their phone. That's their style. And I bet you could come up with like a pretty great list of just like tell me what type of person this is. Here's some specific information. Here's some specific information about their phone setup.
You can definitely make some profiles.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear more about where you're at, like aside from coming at this as like the everyman, because you've been on YouTube long enough to have seen how saturated it's become, not just in the tech space, but literally everything
Right.
is like this. Like, I don't care if you're making science videos or you're doing makeup tutorials, whatever it is that any of us were doing 7 years ago, it's much different today. So what are the things that you've changed or that you're thinking about now, maybe when it comes to your videos, your titles and your thumbnails, or maybe the content itself that you didn't worry about then?
Well, back in if back in the day, a lot of it was about, because tech was back when I started the channel, a lot of that tech was emerging, smartphones were still very new. Bluetooth headphones were still very new. Bluetooth speakers, there's all this new tech that like I could just say, oh, check out these awesome Bluetooth speakers. People are like, Bluetooth speakers, what's that? I want to know. It'll get the views. Nowadays, everyone's jaded. They've seen Bluetooth speakers, they've seen portable chargers, Bluetooth headphones. Now everybody's like, Bluetooth headphones, I'm just gonna grab AirPods, call it a day. So a lot of the tech isn't new anymore. We're in the state of it, tech is just being refined. And now where, a product name could carry itself, or just like a product category could carry itself in a title and thumbnail, it's not so much the case these days. Now, I feel like the people who are watching, yeah, they want to learn about this stuff. Of course, they're techies, but they probably know 90% of what a product can do. There's probably like 2-3 features that differentiates it from everything we've seen over the past few years. So now for me, my content I've tried to evolve, and in a way that makes just the content more entertaining. So before it'd just be like, all right, here's how I was using it. Of course I incorporate like the everyday life kind of stuff, just spitting facts about the product and just like my experience. But now there's a lot to be said about how important the entertainment aspect of it is. If I feel like if it doesn't have the entertainment aspect, it's very easy for people to just not be interested and just kind of bail on the video. Like, I've seen Bluetooth headphones for how many years now? I don't really care anymore, but if they know, okay, Judd's got entertaining videos, sure, it's about Bluetooth headphones, which I know about, but I'm sure this is probably going to be a fun video to watch and just kind of see what he's getting into with the people he has in his videos. That kind of changes the dynamic of the draw for the audience, and I feel like for me and the Average Consumer channel, that's kind of how we've been steering it. Because, a product category can't, or a product itself, unless it's an iPhone where everyone is looking for the iPhone and wants to know everything about it, it's not enough anymore. Now there's got to be a reason for people to stay on board and, always check in.
Yeah. It sounds like you have to inject more of your personality for people to want to watch your videos. And I have felt that on Vsauce 2 even, which is not a tech channel at all, but even on that channel, it has felt like, okay, the whole idea of like sharing facts or like interesting, science phenomena, people get that. There has been that had its moment to a certain degree, and now that's kind of over. And I feel like that is the same way across a lot of YouTube, where no matter what was like the novel thing at a time, it's not novel anymore, no matter what it is almost. Right. And now we're getting into a moment and a period that's not going to change. This is the way it will be from here on out. That's extremely personality driven in a way that it's always been. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that this is a new thing. Of course, YouTube has always been about the personalities, but in a way where it didn't have to be so about the personalities before, because like you said, there was a time where you could just say, check out this crazy new tech, and people are like, holy cow, and they would watch it. And the same thing on the science side. You'd say, wow, here's this crazy science question you never thought of, and everybody would click on it. And now it's like there are a billion of those crazy science questions. There are a billion, Bluetooth reviews, Bluetooth headphone review videos. What else you got? What else you got for me?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And
it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been a rule, not a rule, but at least for me, because like you said, that's going to come with any genre within YouTube. But one thing that stands true is, like, regardless, a personality and connecting with your audience is something that's going to probably keep them more engaged than, this fact or this product. You build like longtime viewers like that, by having the personality or just, something that they can connect with. Like, they can't connect with products and facts, but they can connect with people. So it's always been really important to have that. And it just, with the novelty of things wearing off, it just kind of shines even more and more today.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the reason I bring up other genres of content is because, people who listen to this podcast have a wide range of interests and a wide range of things that they want to make videos about and channels that they want to build. And this is a lesson that I think rings true no matter what you're doing. And that's kind of the point that I was trying to make is that, the more that you can show your personality, then the less that viewers are going to be able to get that somewhere else, right? Because you're you. Yeah. And that's kind of the most unique thing you have going for you. So while you could use, paradoxes in my case, or cell phone and computer reviews in your case as kind of, launching blocks to get people maybe interested and connect with them on a familiar topic or something that they might be, generally interested in. It really is injecting yourself into that content that you just really can't forget. And I think that a lot of creators, are so good at that. Like Moist Critical is someone who's really good at that. Moist Critical did a video that was just called like, I hate lettuce. And it was like 9 minutes of him talking about how much he hated lettuce.
Really?
That was it. He just turns on the webcam, like flips on his microphone and just rants for nearly 10 minutes about how useless and stupid lettuce is. And I watched the whole thing. It was entertaining throughout. It has like, 1 million something views. Wow. And it just, I was like, this is the greatest thing. Like, this to me is quintessential. What I love about YouTube is when, somebody like Charlie can just wake up one day and say, you know what, I've had it with lettuce. And I'm gonna blast it. Let everybody know. Lettuce is put on notice. but people love his personality. They love his his sense of humor and the way that he talks about things. So you click on a video from him that says, I hate lettuce. You say, I'm on board. Yeah. I want to know why.
You have expectations already.
Yeah. And maybe I didn't hate lettuce before, but now I'm kind of second guessing the role of lettuce in my sandwich.
And
moving forward,
it's funny. I see this as like certain, there've been many companies, at least in the tech space, there are so many tech companies and, blogs that, have YouTube channels, and you kind of notice the performance that, these are big name companies, and you notice that their performance in their videos aren't really that great. And it just makes sense because a lot of the time you don't know who you're getting from, those channels. There's not that one person that you probably found somebody that you enjoy, but if they're not consistent, you don't know who you're going to get. And it's hard to build that. I don't know. I guess it's hard to build a relationship there between the viewer and the channel. Because, personality is so huge. It drives everything on YouTube, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, and social media in general,
Yes.
I totally agree. And the weird thing is that there are still 9 out of 10 of these corporations and companies or whatever that are trying to dip their toe into media stuff. They still don't understand that. Like they still do not get that you have to have some level of authenticity and somebody who some host or creator who is invested in that channel in a way that will allow for some audience to be invested in them. Like without that, then no one's on board because it just kind of like reeks of being inauthentic and hacky and cringy. Cringy, really. At the end of the day, it's like a lot of it is just really cringy. You're like, guys, I don't know why you thought anybody would like this, but we don't.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
That's so funny, but it makes me wonder kind of what the future is for, how long people like us will be staying in this game and how long, how long do you want to do this YouTube thing? Like, do you have goals or plans for transitioning out of it and into something else?
We talk to a lot of talented people on the Create Unknown, but for every guest we have on the podcast, there are literally thousands more who have built creative businesses and have outstanding stories about how they did it. If you've got a creative business or you just want to hear how other people got it done, check out Creative Elements. It's a podcast from Jay Klaus. On every episode of Creative Elements, Jay talks to successful creatives about how they got started, how their art and work evolved, how they eventually built a business from that creativity. This all will sound pretty familiar. If you like us, you'll like Jay. Think of his podcast like a How I Built This for creatives. And Jay's been in the space for a long time. He's been featured on TEDx, South by Southwest, lynda.com. He's talked to Seth Godin, who's a legendary marketer, James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, Morgan Neild, whose expertise is in Etsy. It's a great addition to the YouTube-focused stuff that we tend to do. Jay's got a lot of variety, so if you're grinding away, if you want many more examples of people forging a career in different creative verticals, fire up the Creative Elements podcast. Jay's show will help you stay inspired, it'll help you move forward, it'll help you build a career out of the thing you love to do. Listen and subscribe to Creative Elements on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, I want to ride it till the wheels fall off,
Okay.
I've always thought in my head, and this is before I became more experienced, but I always thought in my head, like eventually, like, your average consumer, that's not like my name. It's not Judner Aura. That's not channel's not named Judner Aura. And eventually someone else can take over. That was always my thought back in the day. I don't know how successful the channel would be. I'm maybe if I integrated a different host early on before any kind of transition, maybe you can pull it off. There's probably some way to do it. But we've seen a lot of times where channels try to change a host that everyone was used to and it not really pan out. So for me, that was my initial thought. Like, that's how I'm going to get out of the YouTube game and still have YouTube going. But these days, I don't know. That to me is that's the big question. Like, what does it look like what does retiring from YouTube look like? I
Right.
don't know what the answer to that is. But I feel like the only thing I can do is probably like just set myself up outside of YouTube so that I'd be fine. And like, cause this is my everything, my full-time gig. This is my business. So maybe that looks like, I don't know, getting into product making myself with all the, experience I have with testing so many different things. Who knows? But I can't say I know what the end game looks like just yet. It's something I think about a lot, but I haven't really found the answer. What about you?
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, quite honestly, one of the reasons that I was interested in starting this podcast was to dip my toe into a different media outlet, just to try something different, because it's so much different than making YouTube videos, doing the podcast thing.
Sure.
In almost every way, like the level of pre-production, the level of production, and the level of post-production are completely different when you're just dealing with conversations and audio than it is with the YouTube videos. I mean, my YouTube videos on Vsauce 2 take forever to make, and for a number of reasons. Like the pre-production stage takes forever. Production usually isn't too bad. That's usually a day, sometimes two. I guess I would say 2 days on production. And then, the post-production process ends up being like another 3 about. But it takes forever just because of like picking a topic and refining it and thinking of how the title and thumbnail drive the narrative of the topic, and etc. What the visuals are going to be, what I'm going to demonstrate, what props I need to demonstrate such a thing.
Sure, everything's factual.
It's a ton of.
I'm sure there's just so much thought. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure everything's correct. Make sure that I'm explaining it well enough, which often, no matter how well I explain something, people still don't get it, man. Like I felt so bad, but it's like sometimes I just throw my hands up. Where I had somebody tweet me a couple of weeks ago about the Monty Hall problem, the Monty Hall paradox, which I have explained. I mean, I've explained as best as I can with multiple examples on Vsauce 2. There's also Michael Stevens of Vsauce 1 made a video on the Ding channel about the Monty Hall problem. And this person was asking me, like having watched all of those, was asking me still if the final like 2 doors are like a 50-50 chance, which is like that is the exact confusion that you're trying to explain that it's not. So it's like I spent so much time trying to explain how it's not 50-50 and you should switch. It ends up being, 33-66 with some, repeating with numbers at the end there. But still, they watched all of those and they were still at the end of that like, so anyway, can you explain to me why it isn't 50-50? And I'm like, not on Twitter. I mean, if like all of the videos that I did on this didn't help,
there's no way.
I don't know. I'm out of options.
I don't have enough
like I'm out of ideas. I don't know what else I can do here.
That's always the roughest.
So
that's always a rough part of the kind of content that we do. Just when you're explaining something and you provide the answer, and sometimes people just still ask the question to the answer that you provided. Sometimes I literally just take timestamps and respond to people like, this is right here. This is where I talk about it. Right. What you're asking, this is it. And it just, a lot of the stuff just goes over people's heads sometimes.
Yeah. They're not listening, or it just didn't process it properly. I mean, I thought it was so funny. Sarah Dici, who also does tech videos, and we had her on the podcast a little while back. She did a tweet like last week or something where somebody was trying to correct her as in the comments of her YouTube video, and they were completely wrong. Like the person was trying to correct Sarah for being wrong, but she was right and they were completely wrong. So now she's responding to this person, just like trying again to explain why they're wrong. And it's like, this seems like not a great use of time.
Yeah. That it happens. It happens. And I mean, for me, those are always like the hardest comments to see. Like I went into YouTube just knowing what the internet is like. So comments really usually don't have an impact on me unless it's something about whether I got something right or wrong about a product, Those are the ones that actually make me go, dang, I got that wrong. And then, some people, they're so adamant about their own answer that you question it for a second, like, wait a minute, you're not right. What I said was correct. But they'll swear up and down and that what they said is correct instead. It's an interesting place to be in, man.
It's a little maddening. Yeah. And I don't think that people who don't make videos and haven't had this experience really know what that is like. It does. It's like gaslighting almost. It does make you feel like a little crazy. You're like, wait a minute, what? And then you're like, no, that person is. We just have so. I've talked about this a lot in this podcast, but the entire idea of the internet is so unnatural for our brains in like a million different ways, like socially and cognitively. It's completely ridiculous. Like there could be a great long book that I will not write, but maybe someone else will, about how unnatural it is to, like, for instance, make a YouTube video and then have anyone in the world who can, type in English and has an internet connection, can respond to and say whatever they want to it. But the really unnatural part of that is you, as a human being, reading this text, which you take and listen to as like a valid human being's response to you,
Right.
as if it was somebody that you know, or as if it was somebody who was in the room with you, which is how human beings are evolved. Like we're evolved to communicate face to face. We are not evolved to communicate through YouTube comments. It's a preposterous thing that we've just gotten used to really quickly, and we assume that it's like normal, but it's not. It's not normal. It's not normal. In order to like receive criticism from somebody, you should be in front of them. And I'm not saying like ban YouTube comments. I'm just saying like from an evolutionary, like a social evolutionary perspective, the thing that we evolved to do was communicate face to face, in person. Okay, that's how we know, because you get all sorts of facial cues and body language, and you get like tone cues.
A lot of that matters. Too.
A lot of that is really important, and you get the ability to respond in real time to them. So when they say, "Hey, this was wrong," you can take that in and say, "Well, actually, like here's why." Maybe you're not understanding this correctly, and you can have a conversation, but to treat like random comments on a YouTube video or random tweets from God knows where, from God knows whom, as if you're having a conversation with like your cousin or someone in your village, and it's, the year 1172. No, that's wrong.
So
and it's very, very weird. And we react to it as if it were like that, but it's not. It's this completely unnatural, bizarre thing, but it does affect you emotionally as if you were being like criticized by your dad. It's like, you're not my dad. You're not.
And it's crazy because
you're not my grandpa.
You can get 1,000 great comments, and the one or two negative ones can sometimes just derail it all. It's interesting. It's the whole idea behind, like, the way comments and you interact with that. It's like you said, unnatural. Could you imagine making a presentation in a stadium and then having to listen to everyone's thought afterwards? You just go down the list of seats and you listen to every person's thoughts and comments about it. Like, it's not what we're built to do.
Well, and also be expected to. So let's go back to my example of like trying to explain to every single person who doesn't understand something why it is they don't understand it. That stadium analogy is a perfect example. Imagine you give some sort of speech at a football stadium, and it's filled with, I don't know how many people sell out a football stadium. 60,000. Say 60,000 people. I don't know. And like 9 of those 60,000 spread out all across the stadium are confused about what you just said in different ways. Now imagine you like walking all over the stadium to like personally like explain to them one-on-one why they don't get it. And now scale that out, because that's only 60,000. Scale that out to a video that has 1 million views. Right. And we don't even have a good way of processing how many 1 million people is. I can't visualize that. There's absolutely no
way.
what do you compare that to? I don't know. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Some sort of
in one spot,
march or something. I don't know. Some kind of gigantic parade. Like, how many people are at like the Macy's Day Parade in New York City? Probably a lot. I don't know.
Nowhere near that.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Like, and now you have to like walk through that crowd and talk to people sporadically, dotted around it, and have like a lengthy conversation with them and teach them like what they're confused about and why, or what it is that you said that they didn't get. It is ridiculous if you put that relationship in a real world context. It's ridiculous.
It can only happen on the internet. There's just no way.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. I'm just saying it's weird.
No.
It's weird and strange, and it might not be like the better use of your time might be making a follow-up video or something like that. Like if a lot of people don't get it, then maybe you should speak to a lot of people about it.
Right. And that makes sense. But taking the time to individually do it, yeah, like you said, there's better uses of time.
It's
much
like
better.
That some of the questions that I get, through Twitter and DMs and emails and stuff, I'm like I don't know what you guys think that I do all day, but it's not answer every question that you have.
Right.
It's not that. I'm sorry. Like I can't. I'm just one person, and I have other things to do.
It always makes
I'm sorry.
It always makes me feel a little bad because we get a lot of messages, and there are times where, and I get all kinds. I'll get people writing me about recommendations, like, oh, can you recommend, some headphones or, a smartphone or something in this budget. There's all kinds of those. And then there's the, hey, my laptop stopped working. Do you know why X, Y, Z? And it's just like, there's absolutely no way for me to go through those and be of solid support. And it makes me feel bad.
Right. You're like the one-man geek squad.
Yeah. And it makes me feel bad sometimes just because they pop up and you see them and it's just like, there's like 20 of those today. I can't.
Well, I agree with you. And that's kind of like the weird messed up thing is that like I'm trying to drill down to is that I feel bad about it too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wish that I could help all of these people. I wish that there were a way to have an hour-long conversation with each person who doesn't understand Monty Hall because I didn't do a sufficient, job explaining it in my video. But that's what I'm saying that I think is unnatural, because there's just no way. Like if you were doing something before to the internet, you could do that. Like if you were giving some sort of talk, I guess you would do it, in like a lecture hall, and you would have students and you'd have a lecture hall full of people. And at the end, one would raise their hand and say, hey, I don't really quite get this. Can you help me understand it better? And then you would stand up there at the end and you would try to do a better job.
Right.
That kind of makes sense to me in that scenario. But in the internet scenario where it's 24 hours and you can receive an email at 3:00 in the morning,
right,
or you can receive something at 9:30 and then you get something else at 5:30, and it's just a bombardment. You have to close the door to that at some point, or you just go nuts.
Yeah, because they'll never stop, because people will always, like, that lecture will live on forever, on the internet. Whereas in an actual lecture hall setting, after you're done, So yeah, it's a funky, it's a funky space to be in, but I feel like though sometimes it maybe helps. I mean, no, we go into all videos trying to do our best to explain things. Sometimes it's just beyond help.
Yeah. And again, I do feel bad about it, but at the same time, like, you have to steel yourself against it to some degree, or you can just get swallowed alive by that. But this goes kind of like leads into something that I really wanted to ask you, which is about work-life balance, because when we were at the Formula E thing, I was going to watch the UFC Conor McGregor fight which if anybody saw that, they saw his leg fold in half. It was a shocking end to that
I have
fight.
a hard time seeing those kind of injuries.
Yeah. Me too. It is just like chills you internally to see people snap bones like that. But you didn't make it because you're a family man and you had to get home,
Right.
and you had to take care of your kid, which is an amazing thing, a beautiful thing. And I wonder how you're dealing with being a dad and being a YouTuber.
It's an interesting experience. I will say, for me, I got a little bit lucky, I'd say, that, I mean, COVID is the worst thing ever, obviously, but it did change the way we do things these days. And my son being born last year, in the middle of last year, we weren't as active anyway. So I was able to spend a lot of time with him and my wife and just kind of getting to know him, just kind of putting a lot more into that part of life. And I could only imagine if, COVID wasn't a thing. I'm somebody who was flying multiple times a month, I'm sure I'd miss a lot more time here than I did last year because, it can be really busy being in this space. There's just so many events, so many product launches. So I got kind of lucky. But now that things are sort of getting on back to normal. Well, whatever. You know how it's going.
Yeah, things are opening up a little bit.
Up,
events are being put on.
Closing down again. It's weird. But now that we've got a little bit more normalcy, it's been tough because I have a studio, and we used to work out of the studio before COVID hit. And now I go into the studio maybe once or twice a week, if we're lucky. A lot of stuff is still being done at home. Like I have my basement where, there's everything we need here to make videos. And we've been using it a lot more than I've been comfortable with. But you gotta do what you gotta do. But it's hard because YouTube is it can be one of those jobs where, and that's being an entrepreneur in general. Like it never stops. There's always work, and being a parent never stops. There's always something too, So it's kind of just finding that balance, leaning on, I was able to lean on my wife quite a bit. So it's tough. I'm still learning it, navigating it. I'm still trying to figure out what works in terms of like being on set and away versus being here. Like I said, COVID helped, but it also set kind of like a precedent for me that I need to be here for my son all the time. So it's weird. It's all very weird, very new space to navigate. But I've been doing well. We've got a couple of guys here that help. And it takes some of the burden off the shoulders. I've got some solid people I can rely on. So for my team here, for the YouTube side of things, my wife for the home things, it's good to have people in your corner, just so that you can manage both. If I can imagine, like, doing it all solo, it's very easy to just turn on the blinders and just go all in with work. When you if you don't have any help, or let's say there's not someone to pull you away from work on the home side of things, you can easily just get lost. But when you've got good people in your corner, it just kind of makes the balancing act a bit easier.
Mm-hmm. With the travel thing, are there really that many events? Like twice a month, you're flying all over the country, overseas?
It's not just product launches. There could be shoots, shoots for products that already exist. Maybe a company wants to do a stronger push during this quarter to, get the word out about a said product, or even, see things early, see things when they actually launch. There's always something to do. That's actually my least favorite part about what doing what we do. I hate traveling personally. I like being at wherever I'm traveling to. Sure, that's fine, but getting there and the process, it all sucks. I hate it. I'm a guy who likes to pack absolutely everything with me whenever I go somewhere, which makes everything so much harder. But I can't help it. So the traveling part, I don't miss that at all. But there's so much more in the tech world than you'd expect happening. There's tons of companies doing tons of launches at all times of the year. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you must get some, because even I get some janky emails about like weird products that they want. And like, and I don't review tech stuff, and I get these emails. So you must get some pretty funny emails from people wanting you to review, God knows what, electric ice cube makers and stuff. I have no idea.
All kinds of things, man. All kinds of things. And what kills me is it's like these Amazon sellers. They are relentless. I get emails from Amazon sellers. I get at least like 10 emails a day from just random.
Like what? What are what are they selling? Do they sell their own products or other people's products?
Their own products.
How does that work?
Their own products. Like, let's see. What is this random thing? Telcast. This is a random Android phone. Or is it a tablet? It's a random tablet. Okay, a 10-inch tablet. I get things like such random stuff every day. This is just me just literally clicking open my email and pressing the first email I see. And it's like a random tablet. And I see things like that, phones. I see all kinds of weird stuff, man. Have you seen these like UV phone cleaners? Have you heard of those?
I have heard of that. Yeah. Is that a big new thing that people are pushing?
Yes. And I'm just like, why? Why are we doing this right now? I get so many emails about like these UV phone sanitizers, and I get sent so many in my PO box. I can't even make it up. It's just like, I do this series called Massive Tech Unboxing, where I just open I do a bunch of unboxings all at once. And if you see some of the things that I get from PO boxes, those are things that people actually just took the time to I don't know if he's going to open it or on the channel or cover it at all, but I'm going to just take a chance and send it. I get so many of those, and, emails are just 10 times that. Just completely random stuff. But
what do you end up doing with the things that people send you? You donate it?
There's right now, a lot of it is either given away. I either give it away to like friends and family, or I try to give away stuff to viewers. But a large majority of it just kind of stays in storage. And I feel like operating out of my basement has been bad in that sense that now I have a boiler room filled with just random junk. I feel horrible just like throwing it away, or like, and I don't really have the time to find a place to donate it to. So they kind of just sit here sometimes. That's the question I get asked a lot. And it's like, I give away a lot, but I also, it's just, a lot of it just kind of sits there.
Yeah, you'd almost need to hire somebody just to properly go through it. I remember years ago asking Lou from Unbox Therapy the same question, and he laughed because he said, at first he would give away all these things to his friends and family, and it reached a point where they had everything they needed. Like, how many tablets and cell phones do you need? Your aunt has her own tablet. Your second cousin Billy has like 3 cell phones, and that's what he said. He said he just ended up putting it in storage, and it ends up, I don't know this is years ago. Yeah. I don't know if he figured out like a better system and he cleans it out.
It gets to that point.
I have no idea. But yeah, at some point you just have to say, I'm going to deal with this stuff later.
That's exactly how it happens. Like, even the guys who work here with me, I'm just like, you guys want this? They're like, no, we're good. It's like, all right.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to the technology thing, like slowing down in terms of, the excitement and the advancements and stuff. Like everything gets faster. Like, do you want a faster tablet? Do you want a tablet that has like a nicer screen? They're iterative, you know? It's like I just recently updated my tablet because I was using an iPad from like 1874, and it would take 12 hours to charge this thing. It would take like all day to charge, and sometimes it would delay shooting. You know, I would hardwire it in when I shot, but I still would have to wait like an hour for the thing to charge enough just to turn on. And I eventually was like, all right, this is dumb. I should just get a new one. So I did, but it worked. Once it was on, it did what I needed it to do. And this thing was probably 6 years old, something like that. And it was fine. So we have entered like kind of a weird lull, I think, in the tech space where how often do you have to upgrade stuff at this point? Unless it's really like you're a tech person and you need a new phone every year.
Right.
But do you? Like, I certainly don't.
You really don't. You really, really don't. I mean, and all the advancements that they're making with these phones these days, they're doing it so that they can last longer. They're future-proofing the device to be used for a few years. So unless you're just like, I need everything, then sure. But like the average person, they'll pick up a phone. This is a 2 to 3 year investment. You know, it's not something they're swapping out very easily. Even 2 to 3 years is just like, even that's pretty quick for some people, you know? And usually a lot of people say, it's faster, camera's better. All right, not enough for me to upgrade. You know, they're like the incremental jumps. They don't care for that. They're waiting for the new front-facing camera feature that kind of changes our lives. Because I remember when the front-facing camera came out. Like, you know, that was a game changer. I feel like a lot of people are waiting for that, and these small updates aren't really enough to drive people to make, like, you know, a purchasing decision.
No, you need a leap. Like, imagine explaining to your parents why this phone is that much better than the other one. They'll look at you like you have 3 heads. Like, what are you talking about? Like, can I make phone calls with it? Can I text you? Can I check my Facebook? Okay, I'm good.
That's it.
That's what I use my phone for, and not much else. Well, we have some questions that I'd love to hit from our patrons. If you're ready to transition into that portion of the podcast. This first one I love. It's from Marco, and he's asking if he's kind of making a statement, but I'll turn it into a question anyway. If you'd ever do like a fake tech review on really old tech, like Fire or the Wheel or the wax candle, something primitive in that range. Sounds like would be a great April Fool's video for your channel. Have you ever thought about doing anything like that?
That would be a great April Fool's video. I've never done anything like that before. I've always thought about reviewing something that didn't actually as an April Fool's joke, something that isn't actual tech. I've never pulled a trigger on it though, but I do think that's like a really cool idea, because it may not have like, you know, circuitry or anything like that, but that's high tech stuff at a point, you know, a candle, a wheel, that was technology. Those were tools people were using to make lives easier. So I can see where it would fit.
Do you have any old tech? Like, are you into anything weird, like old cassette players or anything like that? Do you really? Do you get into that?
Not
or no?
Really. I'm not much of a retro guy. Not much of a retro guy. I don't think there's anything that I was like, oh, this vintage XYZ. None of that ever, you know, it's never done it for me.
Yeah, I love looking at that stuff.
Yeah.
And I would love to own a lot of it, but here's my problem. One is that it takes up so much space. Right. All of those things are big, like those big tape decks and like laser disc players and all of that stuff that I find fun to look at. Even old camcorders, they're really neat, but they take up a ton of space. And I wouldn't know how to fix them. That's the other problem, because they're going to break because they're so old. And I think for the most part, they're probably not too difficult.
I don't
to
know.
Fix.
You know,
like
it's funny.
Capacitor here or there. I don't know. I don't know anything about fixing electronics.
Same here. I was actually on Retro Tech with Marquez as well. It wasn't this season's Retro Tech. We did something different this year. But I think the first time around, we did a cassette player, like just a standard cassette player. The challenge was for us to try and fix it, and it looked like rocket science. There was no way I could not fix a cassette player, like just a standard Walkman, and no way I couldn't do it. We both couldn't do it.
Me either. But that's because I don't know anything about that. Like I think that if you do, like if you're into electronics, I don't think there's like that much going on under the hood to those things, because it's all mechanical, right? It's not like you have to like this motherboard is fried and you're screwed. It's more like, oh, this capacitor has to be swapped out, and this, I don't know, this reel is burned out. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But and maybe I'm completely wrong on this. But growing up, my dad was friends with a guy who fixed electronics for a living, and I'm telling you, man, he had his shop, like his electronics shop, was so cool. He probably did not think it was cool because he, did this all day and it was his job, and it was probably, like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the mountain every day. But the whole shop was just stacked floor to ceiling all around you, aside from, well, even on his workbench, because he was working on something at the time, with like every type of gadget you can think of from the 70s and 80s and 90s. And it was so cool. I wish I was too young to
truly appreciate it.
Like shoot a video in there. Yeah, I couldn't do anything with it. I was like a kid. But I remember even being a kid, just looking around being like, this is really, really cool. I like seeing all of this. VCRs with dual heads so that you could record like a tape. You play a tape on one and you record it on the other.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Look, I could
really
fix,
sweet.
I could fix a cassette. Like I could wind the tape back up and, boom, we're good. But that's about it.
Yeah. You just stick your fingertip in there and just twist it around. Yeah. That's high level stuff. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Baseway is asking, what everyday tech are you looking forward to? Is there something that you think needs to be in the world and just isn't? So that's really kind of two questions.
Everyday tech, like something I would use on a daily. You see, for me, my everyday tech is probably not someone else's everyday tech. I'm a big mobile gamer. So I like playing on handhelds and, things of that nature, even some games on my phone. So I'm pretty excited for like some of those, some recent announcements. I know there's going to be a new Switch with a better screen. I mean, I'm pretty excited for that. But there's this new handheld system from Valve. I think it's the Stream.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That thing looks really cool. Valve has Steam has a huge library of games. And I started to fall in love with gaming on laptops because I could pretty much take that. I like portable gaming, and you can take a laptop anywhere and, kind of game like you would on a console in a sense. But having those console games on a portable system like that, for me, I'd be on that all day, all night.
Yeah, the Steam Deck. Yeah, Andy just posted it in the episode chat. Yeah, the Steam Deck. It just looks cool. I'm glad there's another handheld, other than Nintendo's, because I always thought that the PSP and the Vita were really cool, especially the Vita. Like the Vita. Hey, speaking of OLED, the Vita had an OLED screen in like 2012 or whenever. 2000. What year was that? I don't even know what year the Vita came out. It was a long time ago, though. It was like a decade ago.
It was 12, right? I think it was 12.
It was a long time ago, and it's a beautiful screen. I have one, and it was so funny to me when the Switch and the old Switch OLED announced, because I was like, A, awesome. That's really cool. B, you guys are like 10 years behind.
So late.
Because the Vita did this so long ago. Like literally 10 years ago, the Vita had an OLED. And the Vita was amazing for...
It's such a shame.
Like old games and homebrew.
Right. And the PSP too.
ROMs and...
It's such a shame. Like Sony never really put in what they should have with those systems. They were so great. No. Sony just let that potential just fall to the wayside. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, the Vita never even had a killer app. Like the killerest app I can think of was like Persona 4 Golden, but that was just an updated version of Persona 4 that you could play on PS2. Right. You know, it was like they never came out with anything that was a system seller. Not really.
Then they just bowed out of the handheld like market altogether. That was soul crushing to me, because I remember playing Monster Hunter on PSP. I just have such great memories from those systems, and it was just so unfortunate that Sony dropped the ball on it. But they had like the technology was so advanced. Like the very first Vita OLED screen, then they changed it when they came out with like the second and third iteration to like, I think it was LCD, and it didn't compare. So.
Oh yeah, no, you have to have that OLED. It was a huge difference. It was so much better. But yeah, now they do the VR thing, which I get. Like they see that as being more of something that they can own, I guess. But I don't know. Still, the Switch definitely showed that whole hybrid thing is such a good idea.
Yeah. Sony just dropped the ball on it for sure.
Because now you're owning two kind of big markets, which is people playing on the go and people playing at home. I mean, I never undock my Switch.
Oh, really?
I just leave it in. I don't go anywhere.
Really?
There's no place for me to go. Like, unless I was taking it to the bathroom, like there's no reason for me to undock that thing.
I get that.
But if I was like you, traveling all the time.
Listen, I don't ever dock it.
I totally.
I'm on my Switch just walking around the house.
What? Yeah. Really?
Listen, man, I love it.
That's amazing. What are you playing? What are some of the games that you love to play walking around your house?
Right now, I used to play this like card game back in the day called Yu-Gi-Oh, and they have a game on the Switch, and it's like nostalgia city for me. I just play Yu-Gi-Oh all the time. And then it's just the must-haves, of course, like Pokemon, that kind of thing. But these days, I'm playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I could see that. I could see that being a good game where you can just pop in and out.
Exactly.
You know, don't have to be too invested. Linus Larrabee has a question. Linus is wondering if you like any design characteristics of one company more than others. It used to be that Toshiba did things unique to Toshiba, and Sony was recognizable as Sony. Do you find that's still the case? And if so, is there anything that kind of like lends itself to your sensibility more than something else?
I would say Microsoft, and I'm thinking Microsoft just started doing like the Surface products. I think they've got a great design team over there. Their hardware just feels so solid. And it's not something you'd expect from what was primarily a software company. They've got really, really good hardware. I feel good when I have like a Surface product in hand. I think that their design language is like really nice, clean, minimal, but it still gives you like this premium feeling. So I've always been a fan of Microsoft's newest thing, like Microsoft's hardware, the things that they've come out with lately. But if we're talking about like larger companies that kind of do a little bit more, let's see, who would I say? I mean, Apple's always been huge on design as well. They make beautiful products. More recently, some products look better than others. But they also have like, that crazy reputation of just really beautiful hardware that feels extremely premium.
Are you for or against that new iMac design?
So the new iMac design looks, I think, I wish they kept it all one color. I think the colors on the back of the monitors look amazing. But they've got like that pastel in the front. They were going for a happy, vibrant kind of feel. So the people using the iMac would, feel light, happy while using it. I get the concept, but if they just kind of stuck with what they usually do and just keep the hard color, like that nice strong color that's in the back, if they did that throughout, I think it'd be a much better received product. I think a lot of people you wouldn't even be questioning, do you think that's a good looking product? It'd be a no brainer. But that the two tone look is back off.
They really had that back when I was in college, and we were using iMacs primarily for editing and stuff like that. That's when they had those bulbous, bright colored, kind of translucent designs that were bubbly and they were kind of garish, but in a way that was kind of fun, I guess. I don't know. So I mean, there is a precedent there for Apple doing those really colorful things. These are more muted. They're not so bright.
Yeah, they're very pastel. They're very but the back is the back of them is where you get that nice vibrant color. I think those stand out a lot more. I think when everyone saw it, I think they showed the back first, and everyone was kind of like, "Oh my God, they look great." And then they turned it around, and it's like, "Wait, what did you do? What is this?" Those. Those. I forget what those are called. Those are all the different colors. I see it in the chat. This is exactly what
Andy's popping them in the chat.
Exactly what.
Oh, the G3, the iMac G3.
Yes. I used to love seeing those in school.
Yeah,
they did
so
give
cool. And the one that he posted before that was like that aqua color or whatever. Gosh, my college newspaper office was just walled with those.
Oh, really?
They were just lined up. Yep, with
that's
those
the best looking one.
Exact computers.
That's like my favorite color though, so I'm biased.
Yeah. What do you call that color?
It looks teal to me. Teal's my favorite color. It looks kind of teal, but aqua, teal, turquoise. They're all people pretty much call them all the same thing.
Yeah, that's a vibe right there. That's a definition of a vibe. Certainly for me, brings me back. So Baseweight is dying to know about Skate. So I'm guessing the video game Skate. He's asking, did you play Skate growing up? And if so, are you excited for Skate 4?
Oh, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I did actually.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater? I think that's a different series. Yeah, Skate is its own series.
Is it Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
So I guess
4 coming out, or was that? Oh, Skate is its own. Okay, I'm not familiar then. I only played Tony Hawk.
Did you play the remake of 1 and 2?
I didn't.
Me either.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it to go on sale on the PS5, and I'm going to pick it up.
Got it. Yeah, no, I saw a lot of people talking about it, and like just all the memories coming back. I never got a chance to get my hands on those games though.
Yeah,
I used to.
Me either, but it's on my list.
For sure, I get that. I used to spend hours. I think I used to play it on the Dreamcast. I spent so many hours.
Oh, nice.
Flipping, like just combining tricks together, staying in the air for like a million years. It was really fun.
I know, those are such great games, and it was weird that they just died out the way that they did. But it seems like the remaster has been popular enough that maybe they'll have a resurgence. Here soon. So we only have a.
I was just gonna say. Sorry. I mean, with skateboarding hitting the Olympics, who knows? The popularity might rise, and they might try and do a little bit more.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Now you can actually have Olympic events in the game, which is pretty sweet. So Maria has a question, and it's just a fun general question. What is your favorite animal?
My favorite animal? I think I've always been a huge lover of like the wolf. I think wolves are really cool. Like anything wolf related just was awesome to me. And I guess I won't give any spoilers, but it was cool to see, these wolves in like Game of Thrones. So the dire wolves, the dire wolves were awesome. So yeah, that definitely be my favorite.
Okay. Yeah, Baseweight's trying to sneak in a fursona question here, but I think we'll just skip that.
My first, that's hilarious.
You're not a pet guy though. You don't have any pets.
Have a pet. I have a little Yorkie, very, very, very different.
Okay.
Like a little cookie. She's very different from a dire wolf and wolves in general.
Yeah. They bred the wolf out of those. It's so funny the little tiny dogs that people have. I have a big dog, and sometimes people get afraid of big dogs because they seem like, when I was a kid, everybody had a big dog. There were not these little dogs. Right. I don't remember. I mean, I guess they certainly existed, but any time somebody had a dog, it was like a dog. Right. It was like 50 plus pounds. And now I rarely encounter people
with big dogs
that have with big dogs. Yeah, everybody has like 10-pound dogs.
Yeah, 10 pounds. I wanted a golden retriever like all my life from watching Full House. Ever since I watched Full House as a kid, I was like, I need a golden retriever in my life. But my wife would not co-sign.
Dude, the golden retriever from Full House, Comet, I think was his name. I am pretty sure that was also Air Bud.
Really?
That same dog. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure. If anybody in the in the chat before we wrap up here can confirm whether or not Comet from Full House was also Air Bud, that would be great.
Yeah, no, these are the hard-hitting questions. We need to know the answers to these.
It's the most important question, because now if we end this podcast without that. Okay, wait. Cosmo's great. Wait, who's Cosmo? Comet, the Tanner's from blah, blah, blah. Yes, Comet was played by the dog Buddy, also star of the Air Bud film series.
That's amazing.
There you go.
Boom. Now I can go to bed at night now with no problem.
Yeah, I think that we have ended this podcast on a high note with that knowledge.
That is so cool to know, though.
So now you have learned something, and hopefully somebody close to you will be as blown away by that knowledge as you were tonight.
My wife right away.
That's right. I hope that she enjoys that. Well, listen, Judner, this was great. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. I would love if everybody checked out Your Average Consumer. And if you're not a tech nerd who needs to know everything about gigaflops and flippity blips and all of that stuff, and you just want to know what you need to know about laptops and cell phones and tablets and headphones, then this is the perfect channel for you. It was why it was invented. Absolutely. It's why Judner does this for you on a full-time basis. It's so funny earlier when you mentioned how much you have to work as an entrepreneur. It reminded me of that meme where it's something along the lines of, I quit my 9 to 5 so that I could work, so I could work 9 to 9 or whatever.
I've seen that as well. It's hilariously true, because every entrepreneur knows there's no lie there.
No, you're like, yep, I quit my desk job 9 to 5 Monday through Friday so that I could work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week instead. And I love it, but it's what we do. Well, thanks again, man. And thanks to all of our patrons for hanging out. Thanks for your questions. If you want to become a patron, just go to patreon.com/thecreateunknown. TCU is here every Wednesday night. We'll be back next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that, and the Wednesday after that. Guys, we are booked through August into September. Nice. Things are crazy right now in the TC universe. Things are going great. Yes, poggers indeed, Andy. Poggers indeed. And a reminder about the t-shirts. Go check those out and nab those before they're gone. Thanks again. Check out Your Average Consumer. And until next time, we'll see you, Space Cowboys.
Thanks for listening to The Create Unknown. We'd like to extend a huge thank you and congratulations to the Tots and Dumpster crew who save tiny little lives every single month. A tremendous shout out to our elite baby gang commanders. Linus, our newest. Trevsdead, Boromir, Bot Dogs, Chinchilla, Isaac, Conrad, James, Andrew, Jeff Davis, Patrick Pister, Baseweight, Monahim, Dojangles, and Zero. And thanks to our grizzled, battle-hardened child infantry. Jen Maffasanti, Kevin Menard, Mikhail Steinke, Risebread, Sean Malone, Ryan, Kamikaze, Maria Marco, Sheep, Tom Videogre, Jelksies, and Dan the Latch. Thank you as well to our indentured servants, producer Dan Yosua and producer-editor Ben Webster. Thanks to Baseweight for use of Created in the Unknown for the opening theme, and to Electro Voice for giving us mics to sound good on top of it. The Create Unknown is an Unknown Media production in partnership with Studio 71.